Hi moms, Kristen Horler here, and I am so excited to bring another entrepreneurial woman to you today. We have an incredible athlete, expert, and wellness professional, Abby Perrone here. Abby, I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about yourself and your family before we dive into our topic today.
All right. Thanks so much for having me, Kristen. I've been looking forward to this all week as we kind of set the time that we'd be talking. So thanks again for having me. So I live in St. Petersburg, Florida, with my family. I have a fiance and a stepdaughter who's 10 years old. And so we keep ourselves busy with, work life. But what we like to do recreation-wise is lots of CrossFit style strength and conditioning. We do a lot of just recreating, riding bikes and running, paddleboarding, volleyball. So we're just outside in the sunshine whenever we're not working and building our businesses.
Oh, and we've got a lot of sunshine right now. I think it's 87 degrees out today. Pretty intense weather. So tell us a little bit about your work life. What is it that you do for work?
So by training, I'm a chiropractor. So my degree is in chiropractic medicine, and it's a doctorate degree. And so really, when people think of a chiropractor, they think of going somewhere and getting adjusted, laying down for 5 minutes and kind of getting popped in whatever way that the chiropractor practices. But my business is actually called Love Health, and the whole theme is designed to talk about the whole person and considering, just the concept of love. One of our early slogans was, it's the most important relationship of your life, the relationship with yourself. So the two categories that we really focus on are personalized medicine. So that looks like functional medicine and lifestyle coaching, anywhere from how to heal from, thyroid dysfunction, or trying to lose weight, or just trying to get less fatigue. And then we have the other side of the practice called Love Movement. That's kind of its nickname, and that's focused on hands-on tissue work and therapy. So that is something where it is a boutique style healthcare approach to working on injuries or just optimizing human performance. And specifically, what's really cool about it is I spend a lot of time evaluating the person's structure, and then another large chunk of time just working on the connective tissue and creating customized strategies to kind of get to where the patient's goal is.
Well, I have had the pleasure of having Abby's hands on me for manual work, therapy, and you are a gifted and talented individual. And there were very few tears on my end, but some significant rehab work. So I'm grateful that you're not too far from me. So let's think back, 8-10 weeks ago, before coronavirus, and what your work life looked like, whether it was 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or some version of that. And can you tell us a little bit about what life used to be like for you in your career? And then fast forward to, we've pretty much been on lockdown for about 8 weeks now, and some of us are starting to get out, some businesses are starting to open again. So what evolved for you? And let's just start back to where you were at 10 weeks ago. Give us a picture of what your work life looked like.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful for this question, because I find it extremely important to pause and reflect on that exact thing. It's such a beautiful question, because I've thought a lot about this. Specifically, 8 to 10 weeks ago, I'll kind of start here and then go back to the beginning. I'm like, how did I do this? Was I just floating on the surface of kind of fatigue mixed with getting things done? Because it really was long, grueling days. Let's just talk about that straight up. And so the work that I primarily do, I bounce between functional medicine, which is more, talking and thinking, but I would say 80% of my practice is hands-on. So it's physical work as well. So keep that in mind. If you're working an 8 to 5, I'm physically squeezing, working, using my grip, also having, 14 unique conversations in a day. It's a lot of mental and physical work. So although an 8 to 5 day is average, is normal, I was actually, thinking why am I so tired at the end of all these days? Not only is it a long day full of physical work, but I also commute. So I live in St. Petersburg, which is my hub between clinics that are 30 miles in each direction. So I have a lot of commuting that I also do. So between driving and long energy expensive days, and then coming home and turning on my nesting knob to, mom it out, by cleaning and taking care of the laundry, and also, doing things that I love to do to nurture my family, I found myself just feeling kind of like, okay, here is me on fumes. One other thing I just want to add in is that we also had a routine of traveling pretty much every single weekend. We'd probably be home one weekend a month. So we are not traveling right now. And I can't even tell you, we live in Florida, a gorgeous place. What a blessing it's been to let my suitcase accumulate some dust. I know most people are like, I want to travel, but I'm so grateful for being put.
Did you even recognize how exhausted you were running at the rate that you were running at up until 10 weeks ago?
I know it now because I was able to see patients throughout this time because of chiropractors being essential. If there was a, medically necessary reason that I would see people, I was able to do it, but it was, probably about a third of my normal volume. So I'm already kind of back to full days, starting at 8, ending at 4 or 5 without any breaks, which is my problem. That's my fault for not scheduling breaks. And I'm at about half of my volume because I haven't brought my assistants back in yet. But it's still full hours of work. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I do double this? So it's been increasingly apparent the more that I start to return to that pace. And I'm actually trying to set boundaries now so it doesn't get back to where it was, because I crunched the numbers. And I'm like, I was just doing this to feel good, to feel valuable through being busy rather than actually making the best impact I could on my patients' lives.
Right, absolutely. And I would imagine that you, being somewhat similar to me, find joy in helping other people. And so working harder, like it's mutually beneficial, but there's a point at which I'm now recognizing that it's diminishing returns.
100%. Totally agree with that.
Well, how have things evolved with your business then? So, knowing now that you didn't have to completely close things down, but not everybody's comfortable. Who knows, what your comfort level was with seeing patients, but things definitely slowed down. Are there things in your business that you shifted or evolved during the last 8 to 10 weeks?
I would say the biggest shift has been that on 2 of my busiest days, my Sarasota days, in office, I would have an assistant. So I would be able to see patients every half hour and then hand off my patient at the half hour mark. And, so the patient's there for a full hour. And I would only see them every half hour because then my expert assistant would work on the second half of care. So now I've had my assistants doing more work from home, and they've been amazing, phenomenal, just like adapting to just creative projects that have been really supportive of the business, but just a whole different mission. And so now they're doing other projects that's been really great, really helpful. And I've been doing full length visits, all hour-long visits. And it's been cool to experience a change in that pace. So I would say that's the biggest difference, is really just evolving a lot of my staff from being in office with me to help me double my volume to giving them creative projects that are at home to help me enrich the whole experience of the business without them having to be there with me side by side.
Right. And that's great that they have been so flexible through this process with you too.
It's great. I have one, assistant that's a dog mom, cat mom. She has 5 animals in her house. So I know she's grateful to be home with her animals. And then another mother, she has a 5-year-old who hasn't been able to go to his normal daycare. So she's been just trying to juggle her normal life with an high energy 5-year-old. And so that, I definitely I've grown to be more sensitive to the demands of being both a super mom and a super business person, Yeah,
that's terrific. It's so great. I mean, I could see from day one of, this lockdown, let's say mid-March, right? We're going to pick a date, mid-March, that, I'm like, there's opportunity here. And I don't mean in a in a negative way, but if you're looking for it, there is a way, I believe, and still is, for us to not go back to the crazy lifestyle, right? To be aware. And I think part of it is just even having these conversations for us as moms, as professionals, to recognize, like, we were running on fumes, and how do we give and pour into others and follow our passion without breaking ourselves down in the meantime. So I love the opportunity to have these conversations, so thank you.
And
Sorry,
I was just saying, you hit on it earlier that, I'm actually realizing that the more I protect my own energy, the more I can actually serve. Yeah. So, and it very much was something I had to wrestle with. I was like, am I lazy? Am I selfish? But if I actually block the time, like if I see someone, if I am busy from like 8 to, 3, I'll actually block 4 and 5, because I'm like, you know what, I won't be my best at that time. And that way I can give my best to those who are before there. And, maybe someone might have to wait a day to come in, but I'd rather have the best version of myself to give to my patients. So I realized that in adjusting the pace, which felt kind of like of not a failure, but like cheating the system to me, I'm actually doing better work.
It's great. I love it. So today we're going to dive into this topic about optimizing relationships and personal performance. So can you help us and, all of our viewers understand a little bit more about what that means to you?
Yes, absolutely. And you had told me, like, pick a topic you're passionate about. And, I have so many things that I'm passionate about, which is why I was like, oh my gosh, what do I want to talk about? And I thought about what is the root to pretty much everything that I do that matters a lot to me. So, personalized medicine, to, the movement-based, medicine, to interacting with my family. And I'm really big into like conscious parenting. So when I have a frustration with my 10-year-old stepdaughter, like how I navigate that is really important to me. So the cornerstone to all of these roles, all of these hats, is really how I understand human relationships. And that nurtures a bond with the patient. Because I actually feel like one of my biggest assets in Love Health is the relational experience. And you can probably, speak to that a little bit. I love when you come in, because I love hanging out with you. And so that's why I really get excited about what I do. So just the complete power of the relational experience that we have in every hat that we wear.
That's great. I love it. So tell us a little bit about personality typing and how it's so powerful for knowing ourselves, our spouse, our kids. I mean, obviously we've been spending a lot of time with our families recently, probably more than we're used to, in different environments with different, stressors and challenges. But tell us a little bit about personality typing and how to know yourself.
Oh, yes. So I put 2 different things kind of on my little mental Rolodex that I wanted to touch on. One is really scientific and evidence-based, and one is a little more like earth child, nature-based. But there are ways to just kind of understand who you are and what makes you tick, and help you understand your partner or someone you're working with, or your child, so that you can kind of see where, like, when you're just not maybe aligning, you're like, why is that? Why am I so frustrated with this situation? Or when you really feel synergy with someone, why is that too? And there's some really beautiful patterns that show up there. So there's 2 major things. Number 1 is the Enneagram test. And that's actually something that I'm really passionate about, because, a lot of people in the realm of wellness, and, anyone who has kind of some kind of root in also incorporating psychology into what they do, the Enneagram is a very integrated and well-known test among multiple practitioners. So that's why I really love that one. It's very universal. And it's a scale from 1 to 9. And when you take the test, you're kind of typed by one of these numbers. So I'm a 2, for example, which is the helper. And so that is something I need to realize. So when I'm trying to wedge someone into my lunch break, I need to be like, okay, you are epitomizing yourself. You are being the helper, and that feels good and natural to me. That makes my story perpetuated, but I'm like, is that really what you need to do? Right? Or, my fiance, for example, he's an 8, which is the challenger. So when I'm out working out and I just want to be affirmed because, you know, that's what helpers do, they affirm others. And he's saying, hey, do better. I'm like, wait, why is he not telling me I'm doing a great job? Because I need to understand that the challenger personality type is, hey, even if you're doing great, I need you to do a little bit better. And so instead of taking it personally, I understand I'm a 2 and he's an 8, and I can kind of step outside of that interaction and not react to it, but understand it.
Oh, it's great. I love this. I can't wait to do this. Do you have a link that you recommend if we want to do the test ourselves?
I absolutely do. It's $10 for the best version. You can also look up, we'll put in the term of the test, Enneagram, and I'll also put the link. It's the WEPSS.com link. That's where you buy the $10 one. That's the best version, and I really recommend it. So I'll put like a way to get it for free and a way to purchase the test. And can I just run through what the numbers are really quick?
Yes, please.
Identify with it. I'm interested in yours. I can't wait to hear about it. So numbers 1 through 9, and just so you know, most people have a primary and then what's called a wing. So you'll have like your like kind of blatant personality, and then the wing is like your next most potent traits. Okay, so number 1 is going to be the perfectionist. So everyone out there who is 1 is like, that's me. The person who's like, they're almost like the good citizen. They're like, hey, I need to stand exactly 6 feet away from you, wear my mask at all times. You know, it's like I need to a hand sanitizer pump for every, 10 feet that I travel, so that is someone who's just a good citizen, really a perfectionist. The 2 is the helper. That's the person who's like, you need my shirt? Do you want it right now? Or like, do you want another shirt? Do you want me to give you 2 shirts? So they will give you anything and everything, but they will also be like going down in the process. So they'll just start to run out of energy, run out of time, run out of things as they're giving. Which is, it's funny because I laugh. I'm like, I don't want to be a 2. I want to be something else. Then there's a 3, which is the achiever. So this is the person who's like, oh my gosh, I just, did this competition. I got first place. I feel so good about it. And it's not a bad thing, but they just are fueled by accomplishments and sharing what those accomplishments were with others. And so not only having a goal to hit, but hitting it and sharing it is like, oh yeah, it feels so good. So the achiever. And then number 4 is like the artist. So this is someone who is very highly creative. They're like in the quarantine, they're in heaven because they're like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit on the couch, I'm gonna have white space, and I'm gonna think about all the things that are possible, and just really creative. And they really crave that almost like introverted time to really think about life and the world. They're very dreamy. The 5 is the investigator. Okay, so that is like your number cruncher, analytical person who questions everything, and also tends to be a little more introverted, totally fine kind of entertaining themselves, doesn't necessarily love crowds, totally introverted. And I'm laughing because Danielle, my assistant, we always joke that she's such a 5, and I love it. Like I had her do some videos and she was completely mortified, like hates videos, hates being in the spotlight, just loves being behind the scenes, kind of thinking about data. The 6 is the protector. So that's someone who's going to just like, one of my friends, I think of him all the time. He's like, what do you need? Okay, I'm here for you. If you have a problem, you call me right away. So the protector is kind of your quintessential just hero archetype. Number 7 is I don't remember what the name of this archetype is, but I think of this as the party person. This is the YOLO person. This is like, are we going on a road trip? Where are we going? I got the snacks. So 7's just like always loves a good time. An 8 is the challenger. This is the person who, if you're not winning, you're losing. There's no second place. There's no tolerance for weakness, failure. Oh, you're crying? Why are you crying? Can you not handle it? Very tough, challenging personality, but very powerful, really great entrepreneurial drive. I actually go into an 8 when I'm stressed. So it's not a very good place for me to go when I'm kind of nasty, I'm like, ooh, I'm stressed. And then 9 finally is the peacemaker. So this is the person who's like, oh, conflict? Okay, I'm out of here. And so there are other components to that, but that's kind of an overview of all the types.
Oh, I can't wait to take my assessment. I already have an idea of where I fall, where my husband might fall.
What do you think?
I think, honestly, that I'm probably a 1 because I'm such a rule follower. Like my husband and I went for a bike ride, and he'll cross the road before the light turns green because there's no cars coming. And I'm like having a panic attack. Like, you can't do that. That's not okay. I wear the mask everywhere. Like I'm such a rule follower. So yeah, but it's funny when you said the perfectionist, I was like, oh gosh, I'm a mess. I'm not a perfectionist, but it doesn't, people's perceptions, your own perception, there's all those things happening too.
Totally. And that's why it's so cool, because when you meet someone, you might be like, oh, I start to sense like, oh, they might have a little bit of 5 going on. And like, it's harder for me to understand a 5 because I have traits that are more free spirited. But, when Danielle, my assistant, needed like time to herself, I was like, oh, I have to hold space for that because now I understand your type. So I created a more hospitable work environment for her by understanding what makes her tick.
Right. Yeah. I'm pegging my husband at a 5. He's sitting in his office in the middle of QuickBooks. Like last thing he would want to do would be on a video.
That's great. I love it.
Well, I'm excited to check out the links, so we'll get those from you afterwards. Yeah. So what I would love to do as we're wrapping things up here, Abby, is see if you have any simple tips or recommendations, just something from all of your knowledge and passion that you can share with our viewers today that they can implement into their lives right now. Because when we're talking about relationships, knowing ourselves better, and we're spending so much time with our family right now, any tips, anything that you can recommend that can help us a little bit today?
100%. Again, that's such a beautiful question, because I think all of our, tolerance kind of maximums have been like maybe approached or exceeded in certain ways, and it's kind of like a snow day. You're like, the first snow day is great, but once you get to like the 7th snow day, you're like, okay, I'm stir crazy and tired of everyone. So I think patience, tolerance, and holding space are so important. And so my challenge would be to just kind of observe. Once you look at the test, even if you don't take the test, if you just read more about numbers 1 through 9, just like you did, you kind of started to peg your family, what their numbers are. That way you can think of that, take a 5-second pause in any situation and think like, oh, it's this 2 energy. It's this 5 energy that is, eliciting this response from this other person in my family, right? So, that's something that I think is a really important thing to do. So my action item is take the test, a free version, the paid version, or just read about the personality types, and my kind of insert into life as you are able, pause and try and visualize this person as this number and relate that to how they behave and start to just see the dynamics unfold. So observe.
I love it. I love it. And I think so much of what we are all going through globally is, going back to the idea of what I said earlier of it being an opportunity. One of the opportunities that I see is an opportunity to step back, to pause, to take a look at our relationships, our communication, how we react. Like you said, you get into stressful mode and you what is it? You move into an 8? Is that
right? I'm such a challenger when I'm stressed out.
Yeah. Well, that's great though, to know that, to be more self-aware, right, is so important. So what we're going to do, Abby, is share with everyone your social media links. I know you've got a ton of great education and content that anyone, around the US or globally can view, and your website, so they know how to get a hold of you. And just thank you so much for your time today. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to see you even digitally. I miss seeing you in person, and hopefully soon enough we can rendezvous. But
I hope so. Thanks again for your time. Have a great day.